All right, so this is the first of a number of videos about solving equations. So we're going to start off with what is an equation? Well, an equation is simply something that has an equal sign in it. And it can be as simple as x is equal to 3. It can be 2x minus 15 equals 32. It could be 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. And it could be something, this is a formula that we use in finance. It can be complicated. All right, so the main parts of the equation are the variable. So this part is the letter part. And it's called a variable because what it's worth can vary from question to question, as simple as that. So if we go with x is equal to 3, that's a variable. If we look at, oh, there's my variable right there. By the way, it doesn't have to be x. You can see over in this equation, we have a variable that's an s, which stands for the amount of savings, R for repeated payments, interest, time frame. So there can be a number of variables in the same equation. The constant is just the number. And I don't know how to explain it other than saying it's the plain number. So there's no variable associated with it. So in this one, there's your constant. In this one, here's your constant. Okay, this equation isn't quite finished, so really the 15 is also a constant. And coefficients is probably the only other one that we need to know about, and that's a number, usually right in front of the variable. So in the 2x minus 15 is equal to 32. That's the coefficient. There's your variable, and those are your constants. In the grand scheme of things, if you remember the coefficient is the big number out in front, perfect. It's not too important. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is going to write a series of equations. What I want you to do is I'll do a couple, and then I'd like you to actually stop the video, do the rest on your own, and then take a look and see that yours match mine. So an apple has a mass of 250 grams. And it says write an equation for each of the following, use whatever variable you like. If you want, you can use x for every single variable, every single question, and that's fine with me. But I like to use it, a letter that's part of the question, simply because sometimes you'll get more than one variable, and then it makes life simpler for me. Anyway, so I'm going to say an apple equals 250. That's an equation. That's all we need. So the teacher is 29 years old. So the teacher is 29. I'm going to do the next one, and then I'm going to let you work on your own because I wanted to show you something here, because equations can also start off with a number and have the letter at the back. So basically the left, right sides can be switched, but most people are just much more comfortable with that. All right, so I challenge you now, turn off the camera or turn off the video and do the last 4 by yourself, and then turn it back on and see if we wrote the same thing. So I hope you did what I asked and didn't just keep watching. If your letters don't match mine, that's okay. So the cost of a cookie, so C is equal to 50. There are 400 songs on my playlist. And if you have the P first or a different letter and then the 400 again, it doesn't matter. You can buy 5 limes for $2. Oh, this is kind of a tricky question. So 5L. It doesn't also matter whether you use uppercase or lowercase letters, but I used a uppercase L in this because otherwise it was going to look like 51. There are 18 players on 2 baseball teams. All right. Ta-da. Now an equation is solved, which is where you're going with this. Let me just bring up my sheet here. When the variable is alone and positive on one side of the equation. So x minus or equals 3, the equation is solved. There's my variable. It's all by itself and it's positive. That's fine too. I don't know how many different ways I can do this. M equals, ooh, it could be a negative number, it could be a decimal. I don't know, I'm just making this stuff up. But the key is you've got the letter all by itself, either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, and everything else is on the other side. Now, ones that aren't done, 2x is equal to 10. See, this is messed up because that 2 is there. X has to be all by itself. Again, same thing here. I want the y all by itself. That's the part that's messing it up. It's not done. So I flipped it over and now my variable's on the right-hand side. This is still in there. A couple things students make mistakes on. This is probably the biggest one that people will forget. Negative x is equal to 12. That's the part that people forget about. They forget about the positive. So this one, it's actually the negative out in front that's messing everything up. And technically, if you wanted to, there's an, oh, I made a mess there. It's an understood 1 there. And of course, you can have something as weird as something like that. Well, clearly, I guess I forgot to say the variable is alone on one side. So we've got, it's messed up because you got x's here and x's here, and you got letters all over the place, and you got numbers and coefficients in front. All right, so our goal in the next, series of videos is to get to the point that you can take something like this and turn it into something like this, so that the variable is all by itself on one side of the equation. And that's it for our first video.